Let's just talk about endometriosis very briefly. Why? Because I think I have it. I have been curled over, almost hurling over in pain for 5 hours straight today, until drugs finally kicked in and I took a naps. And then I got some food and I took a shower and now I'm back and but so many of us suffer in silence with this because one, it's not discussed enough in scientific fields. Two, because even the people that are lightly talking about it, or there are some doctors that are talking about it more seriously, but the amount of doctors that I have been to and I've just been like, oh, everything looks fine, you look fine, you look great. Couldn't be that. Let's just talk about what the symptoms are. I'm going to talk about how it relates to me, and then I'm going to share some stats because I think that not just from, let me adjust this slide real quick. There we go. Because if I'm suffering, that means that there are many others who are suffering. My story is not the most unique, I feel, because it is my lived experience. Thus, it must be other people's, right? So let's talk about the symptoms. Also, for those of you who are new here, hello, my name is Shayna. I'm a journalist. I also talk a lot about decentering men, child-free living, which endometriosis and the realities of it sit squarely in a medical sense. So if any of that sounds like a vibe, please like, share, subscribe. And now, excuse me, thank you, Mayo Clinic. Let's talk about some of these symptoms, right? So first off, painful periods. Pelvic pain and cramping may start before the menstrual period and last for days. Into it, you may have lower back and stomach pain. Another name for this painful period is, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. That is me. That has always been me from the moment that I got my periods and I started getting my menstrual cycles early. Yeah. So that's a check. Hurling over in pain, being in so much pain that you are throwing up, that turns out is not normal. Who would have guessed, right? So next, pain with sex. Me? No, that's not my struggle. But that being said, I know that it is for many other people. Pain with bowel movements or urination. Listen, guys, I know these are icky terms. These are terms, but guess what? They're the realities of it. And I know that for a lot of people at home, these kinds of conversations we're taboo, we're shied away from. We don't talk about what goes on in the bathroom. So, which is why constipation is actually, I didn't realize this, but constipation is a huge issue among women. Why? Because people, among my friends, we talk about our poops all the time, but among a lot of families, especially growing up, it's like, oh my goodness, that's so unladylike. So we're destigmatizing that, okay? Because this is a real thing that so many of us deal with. And if you didn't hear it at home, and if you're not talking about it at home, guess what? We're going to talk about it here. So, pain with bowel movements or urination. You're most likely to have these symptoms before or during a menstrual period. Is that for me? Not necessarily. Sometimes the poop situation, not with the pee situation. But guess what? You don't have to have all of these. These are the most common symptoms. Now let's look underneath me. Excessive bleeding. This lady right here, 2 thumbs. I have bled through mattresses. Anyway, enough about me. Sometimes you may have heavy menstrual periods or bleeding in between periods. The bleeding in between periods is not for me, but I know many a woman that this is the case for. Some people have to the point where they feel like they have multiple periods per month. Keep that in mind. Up at the top, infertility. For some people, endometriosis is first found during tests for infertility treatment. As somebody who is uninterested in getting pregnant, I will never know that. But hey, listen, if you're searching, if you want to get pregnant, then that might be the pin in it. That might be the hey. I think you got a little something. Anyway, let's continue on with other symptoms. You may have fatigue, diarrhea, constipation, bloating, or nausea. These symptoms are more common before or during menstrual periods. Fatigue for me, sometimes. Diarrhea for me, during my menstrual, especially day 2. Listen, yes, we are going there. Why? Because I feel like destigmatizing this is going to be helpful for the community. If you're grossed out by this, listen, there are other things on this page, but for the people that want to feel less alone, that are open to having these kinds of conversations, are even concerned about their own health, listen, let's talk about it. Constipation, sometimes. Bloating, for me, I look a full 5 months pregnant right now. There's a reason why you're not seeing anything below here. Told my mom his name is Julio. That's how bad it is. Nausea, yeah. This lady right here, it's a lot. It's a lot. I am incapacitated for days out of every month because of my period. I did not realize that people should be able to go to work, should be able to walk to their mailbox, should be able to do. I didn't realize that people can do things on their period without crouching over in pain, crying, vomiting. I did not realize that that was a life people lived. I thought that we were all just suffering like this. Turns out that's not the case. And then I did even more digging into medical news today. Article for this will be tagged below. I will also be tagging the Mayo Clinic because there's more information on that, but I'm just trying to give a nice little overview. Let's start at the top and then make our way down here. So available data indicate that that around 10 to 15% of all women live with endometriosis. Now I'm going to put a little asterisk by there, people with uteruses, probably. Maybe even people who identify as women, but we're not just gonna, my personal asterisks. A chronic condition in which tissue similar to uterine lining grows outside the uterus. The severe pain and bleeding and other incapacitating symptoms that often accompany endometriosis mean that the quality of life of those who live with this condition is impacted in serious ways. Despite this, it can take anywhere from 4 to 11 years for women to receive the correct diagnosis, and as many as 6 out of every 10 cases of endometriosis remain undiagnosed. There is an obscene amount of research being done consistently for decades on erectile dysfunction. It does not matter what health insurance you have in the United States, you can always get some Viagra. But endometriosis, but anything in regards, we only recently found out what the uterus and female reproductive system actually looks like within the body. We discovered that, let me show you when we discovered this. This is for educational purposes. So we're used to seeing this, right? We're used to seeing this when it comes to the uterus, but I'm gonna show you a little something different. This is a more realistic version of what we are so used to seeing. Do you wanna know what it actually looks like when it is safely in our body, what our uterus is like naturally sitting in us and we are alive? It looks like this. It looks like this. The book where this is found is called Eve, and it's by Kat Bohannon. That book was published in 2023. This was the first time that I personally have seen what my a uterus is supposed to look like within the human body safely. Why is this the way that it looks that we're also used to? Because the creation of gynecology was created off of enslaved Black women being cut open while they were alive and their uteruses ripped out of their bodies. That is what a uterus looks like when it is outside of the human body. So and I say it in so many different ways on this platform, what happens to Black and brown people affects everybody. You might not realize it, but it affects everybody. And this is just one of the millions of examples. So if you are also on your endometriosis journey or just your reproductive health journey, then follow along. Let's figure something else out together, shall we? Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that sexy stuff. And I'm going to talk to you guys later. Bye.